I used to work at Denny's. I was a dishwasher, a busboy, and a server. If you have ever worked in a restaurant like that, you know it is one of the most intense, high-pressure environments you can find yourself in. It isn't just about the food, it's about the flow, it's about the orchestration of 100 different tasks happening simultaneously, and it's about the absolute necessity of excellence in the smallest details. If the floor isn't clean, if the dishes aren't spotless, the entire system breaks down. I wanted to be the best dishwasher Denny's had ever seen. I wanted to be the most efficient busboy in the history of the company. I learned there that no job is beneath you, and that the foundation of any great achievement is the willingness to do the hard, gritty work that nobody else wants to touch. It was in that Denny's, in a booth in the back of a San Jose restaurant in 1993, that Chris Curtis and I decided to start NVIDIA. We didn't have a market, we didn't have a business plan that anyone believed in, and we certainly didn't have the experience of the giants who dominated the industry. What we had was a shared belief that the way computers were being built was fundamentally wrong for the future of human imagination, and we had the work ethic of three guys who weren't afraid to get their hands dirty. We chose 3D graphics as our first impossible problem. At the time, the world was dominated by general-purpose computing. The CPU was the king of the universe. Everyone believed that the way to advance was to just make the central processor faster, following the traditional roadmap of Moore's law. But we looked at the problem of rendering reality, of simulating light and physics in real time, and we realized from first principles that the CPU was the wrong tool for the job. It was like trying to move a mountain with a single highly educated scholar instead of a million simple laborers working in perfect parallel harmony. We chose the parallel path. We chose to build a company around accelerated computing, even though the industry leaders at the time thought we were chasing a toy, a niche, or a distraction. We spent years being misunderstood. We spent years being told that what we were doing didn't matter. But that is the work of your life, to build things that did not exist before, even when, especially when, the world isn't ready for them. Today, the world is looking at a new headline. Everyone is talking about DeepSeek. People see a new model, they see a shift in efficiency, and they wonder if NVIDIA's foundation is being shaken. They see it as a danger, a disruption, a moment where the moat around our company might be bridged. But I want to tell you the truth, and I want to tell it to you from the same place of humility and urgency that I had at Denny's. DeepSeek isn't the danger. DeepSeek is a validation. It is a proof of point. When software becomes more efficient, it doesn't mean the demand for hardware goes down. It means the world's appetite for intelligence is about to explode into an entirely new dimension. What comes next is the real story. What comes next is the transformation of the entire global economy into an agentic, intelligent factory. And if you are walking while this transition is happening, you are already standing still. You must run, not walk. The danger that people are sensing is actually a fundamental shift in the first principles of computing. We have moved from a world where we write software to a world where software learns from data. We have moved from retrieval-based computing to generative computing. For 60 years, if you wanted an answer from a computer, you looked it up in a database. Today, the computer produces the answer. It reasons, it synthesizes, it creates. The efficiency of a model like DeepSeek tells us that we can now generate more intelligence with fewer resources, which sounds like a threat to those who think about the world as a zero-sum game. But that is the old way of thinking. In the new industrial revolution, intelligence is a utility. Just as the steam engine made mechanical power abundant and the electrical grid made energy abundant, the AI factory is making intelligence abundant. And when intelligence becomes abundant, its application becomes infinite. The real warning, the thing that comes next, is the era of agentic AI. We are moving past the phase of chatting with a model. We are moving into a world where AI is an active participant in the physical and digital world. Imagine 1 million digital agents working for every company, for every doctor, for every scientist. These agents aren't just summarizing text. They are designing new molecules. They are optimizing supply chains in real time. They are conducting scientific research that used to take decades. This requires a scale of computation that is orders of magnitude beyond where we are today. The more efficient the models become, the more work we will find for them to do. This is the Jevons paradox applied to intelligence. When you make a resource more efficient, the total consumption of that resource doesn't go down, it skyrockets. At NVIDIA, we have been preparing for this impossible future for 30 years. We have been 30 days from bankruptcy more times than I care to count. I remember the RIVA 1 to 28 era. We had failed with our first architecture, we had spent almost all our money, and we were essentially dead in the water. We had to have the humility to realize that our technical approach was wrong and the resilience to ask for help and pivot in an instant. That resilience is what built CUDA. We spent 15 years investing billions of dollars into a software platform that almost nobody understood or used at the beginning. Our stock price suffered. Pundits called us crazy. They said we were wasting our resources on a dream, but we held on to our first principles. We knew that general purpose computing would eventually hit a wall, and when it did, the world would need an accelerated architecture to survive. Moore's law is dead. It isn't just slowing down. It has reached a physical and economic limit. The cost of shrinking transistors is no longer providing the gains in performance and energy efficiency that we need to power the AI revolution. If we continue to rely on traditional CPUs, the energy cost of the next decade of progress would bankrupt the planet. Accelerated computing is the only path forward. It is the most sustainable, most efficient, and most powerful way to compute. By offloading the heavy math to a specialized engine and building the entire stack, from the silicon to the systems to the networking, we have created the engine of the new industrial revolution. To maintain the speed of this revolution, we have to operate differently. NVIDIA is not a traditional company. We have a very flat structure. I have 50 direct reports. Why? Because in a world moving at the speed of light, hierarchy is a bottleneck. I don't want a VP of strategy to tell me what they think is happening. I want to be in the room with the engineers who are seeing the physical limitations of a transistor or the latency of a networking switch. I want the truth to flow through the company without friction. We are a learning animal of an organization. We celebrate failure as a data point. We don't punish mistakes. We punish the failure to learn from them. This transparency and urgency are what allow us to build things like Blackwell, a system so complex that it shouldn't be possible to build it in the time frame we did. The work of your life is to solve the problems that nobody else wants to touch. The easy problems are already solved. The crowded markets are full of people who want to be safe. But the future is built by the people who are willing to run toward the pain. The robotics revolution, the physical AI revolution, this is the next impossible frontier. We are building the foundations for robots that can understand the laws of physics, that can navigate our world, and that can collaborate with us to build a better future. This requires a level of simulation and training that makes today's large language models look like a warm-up exercise. We are building digital twins of the entire world, an omniverse where AI can fail 1,000,000 times in simulation so that it can succeed the first time in the real world. This is how we bridge the sim-to-real gap. The industry needed a breakthrough in efficiency, and we are seeing that now. But don't mistake efficiency for a ceiling. It is a floor. Every bit of efficiency we gain allows us to go deeper into the complexity of the universe. We are using AI to solve climate change. We are building Earth 2, a digital twin of our planet, to predict weather patterns with 1,000 times the efficiency of traditional models. We are using AI to accelerate drug discovery, turning a process that used to take 10 years into something that can happen in months. These are the stakes of the work we are doing. This is why we run. We don't run for market share or stock prices. We run because the problems facing humanity are urgent, and we are the only ones with the architecture to solve them. If you are a student or a young founder, I want you to embrace the struggle. I often tell people, I wish you ample doses of pain and suffering. I say it because character is not built in the sunshine. Character is built in the abyss. It is built when you are 30 days from bankruptcy and you have to decide if you still believe in your first principles. It is built when you do everything wrong in the eyes of the experts, but you keep going because you know the math is on your side. NVIDIA is a company of character because we have suffered more than most. We have been humbled by our failures, and that humility is what keeps us hungry. It is what keeps us from walking. DeepSeek and the models that follow it are a signal that the intelligence revolution is accelerating. The barrier to entry is falling. The cost of reasoning is collapsing. This means that the world is about to be re-instrumented. Every car, every building, every factory, every piece of software is going to be reimagined as an intelligent agent. This is the more. that the world is waiting for. It is the amplification of human intention. We are giving everyone on the planet a superpower. We are giving the doctor in a remote village the intelligence of a world-class specialist. We are giving the student in a developing nation the ability to learn any subject in their own language with a personal tutor. This is the democratization of innovation. But to build this world, you have to be willing to rethink everything. You cannot be a CPU thinker in a GPU world. You cannot look at the past to predict the future. You have to go back to first principles. Why do we compute? To solve problems. How do we solve them most efficiently? Through parallel accelerated architectures. How do we scale it? Through the data center as the new unit of computing. Anything that deviates from these truths is a distraction. At NVIDIA, we have stayed focused on these truths for 3 decades, and we are not going to stop now. We are going to continue to build the infrastructure of intelligence, and we are going to do it with the same sense of urgency we had 30 years ago. When the stakes felt just as high, even if the numbers were smaller. Because what the world is missing about this moment is that DeepSeek is just a harbinger of a much more profound shift. The transition from large language models to large reasoning models that can act autonomously in our world. The danger to the status quo isn't that someone found a way to train a model more efficiently. The danger is the assumption that the goalpost is static. If you are building for today's models, you are already building for the past. What comes next is the era of agentic AI, a world where the primary user of the internet and the primary worker in our economy is not a human sitting at a desk, but an autonomous digital entity capable of multi-step reasoning, planning, and execution. This isn't just a 10% improvement, it is a fundamental re-architecture of the human experience. When people talk about efficiency gains in software, they often think it reduces the need for hardware. But let's look at the first principles of industrial revolutions. When the steam engine became more efficient, did we use less coal? No, we built more engines, we built more factories, and we changed the face of the planet. When the transistor became more efficient, did we use less silicon? No, we put 1 billion transistors in every pocket. This is Jevons paradox. Efficiency is the fuel of demand. The more efficient we make reasoning, the more we are going to use it. We are going to use it to solve the folding of every protein in the human body. We are going to use it to simulate the climate of the entire planet at a scale of meters, not kilometers. We are going to use it to manage the energy grid of every city in real time. The danger is that the demand for intelligence is effectively infinite, and the only way to meet that demand is through a scale of computing that dwarfs what we have today. This is why we built Blackwell. We didn't just build a faster GPU, we built a system that can handle the sheer weight of this new era. We realized that to support the next generation of reasoning models, the ones that come after DeepSeek, you cannot just have a chip. You need a data center scale engine. You need the networking of NVLink to allow thousands of processors to talk to each other as if they were a single coherent heart. You need the memory bandwidth to feed the beast. If you are a company or a nation and you are waiting for things to settle down or for the correct model to emerge, you are making a fatal mistake. In a world of exponential growth, waiting is the same as retreating. You must run, don't walk, toward the infrastructure of the future. This brings us to the most significant shift of all, physical AI. For the last decade, AI has lived in the cloud. It has been a digital entity that we interact with through screens. But the next wave of AI is entering the physical world. This is the era of robotics and autonomous systems. This is the real danger to the old world. Imagine every car, every truck, every ship, and every factory being re-instrumented with the intelligence to perceive, reason, and act within the laws of physics. To do this, we have to solve the impossible problem of sim to real. We have to create a world where an AI can train 1 billion times in a digital twin, an omniverse that obeys the laws of gravity, friction, and light so that it can walk into the real world and be productive on day one. The robotics industry is where the what comes next becomes visceral. We are introducing foundation models for humanoid robots like Project GR00T. These aren't just programmed machines, they are learning machines. They are social animals of innovation. They learn by watching us, by simulating our actions, and by perfecting their movements in a virtual space. This is a $100 trillion opportunity. This is the reinvention of labor itself. And it requires a level of computational intensity that traditional general-purpose computing can never provide. You cannot run the physics of a humanoid robot on a CPU. You need the massive parallelism of accelerated computing. You need the full stack that we have been building for 30 years. I've lived through many cycles of technology, but I have never seen anything like this. The speed of iteration is breathtaking. At NVIDIA, we have a culture that I call permanent crisis. We are always 30 days from bankruptcy in our minds because that is the only way to maintain the humility and the focus required to lead. If we think we have won, we have already lost. We have to be willing to kill our own beloved products to reach the next peak. We have to be willing to admit when our architecture needs to change. This is why we have a flat structure. I want to be in the room where the truth is being discovered. I want to hear the raw data from the lab. I don't want a hierarchy that protects me from the reality of how hard this work is. The work of your life is to build things that did not exist before. That is a heavy burden. It requires a level of resilience that is forged in failure. I remember the moments when we were ridiculed for investing in CUDA. I remember when people said that AI was a distraction for a gaming company. Those were the most important years for our character. We learned how to endure. We learned how to double down on our first principles when the world was telling us we were wrong. Today, the world is telling us we are right, but that is the most dangerous time for a company. The moment of success is the moment when you are most likely to stop running. You have to resist that. You have to stay hungry. You have to stay humble. What comes after the current wave of models is the sovereign AI movement. Every nation has realized that their data is their most precious natural resource. It is the raw material of their future. If you let another country refine your data into intelligence, you are giving away your sovereignty. Every country must have its own AI factory. They must have their own data centers, running their own models, reflecting their own language, their own culture, and their own values. This is not about competition, it is about identity. We are helping nations around the world build these factories because we believe that intelligence should be a utility available to everyone, everywhere. The danger isn't a single model from the East or the West. The danger is a lack of vision. The danger is thinking that the current state of technology is the end of the road. We are just at the very beginning. We are at the first minute of the first day of the new industrial revolution. The computers of the future will not be tools that we use. They will be partners that we collaborate with. They will be engines of discovery that will help us solve the energy crisis, cure the most intractable diseases, and explore the furthest reaches of our solar system. This is the promise of accelerated computing. This is the truth that we have been pursuing since that Denny's booth in 1993. I want you to think about the character of the people who will lead this next era. They won't be the ones who followed the rules. They will be the ones who were willing to fail spectacularly. They will be the ones who understood that the impossible is just a problem that hasn't been solved yet. I wish you that same resilience. I wish you the pain and suffering that comes from trying to build the future, because that is the only way you will develop the grit to see it through. NVIDIA is a company of survivors. We are a company that has been forged in the fire of near extinction, and we carry that fire with us every day. The logical conclusion of our journey is a world where intelligence is abundant, where it is a tide that lifts all boats. We are building the architecture for that world. We are building the Blackwells, the Omniverses, and the GR00Ts of the future. But the most important thing we are building is a culture of relentless innovation. We are running, and we are never going to stop. Because the moment we stop, the future stops with us. The era of traditional software is fading. The era of the trained world is here. And in this new world, the only way to stay ahead is to go back to first principles. Question everything. Optimize everything. Accelerate everything. Don't be afraid to do everything wrong in the eyes of the experts if it means you are following the math of the future. The danger is only real if you are standing still. If you are running, the danger is just the wind in your face as you move toward the next miracle. I am more excited about the next 10 years than I was about the last 30. We have the tools, we have the vision, and we have the urgency. Let's build the things that have never been seen. Let's solve the problems that nobody else wants to touch. Let's turn the impossible into the routine. The future isn't a distant dream. It is something we are constructing right now, in the data centers, in the labs, and in the lines of code that are learning as we speak. It is a future of abundance, of creativity, and of partnership. It is a future where the human spirit is amplified by the power of accelerated intelligence, and I am honored to be on this journey with all of you. Thank you for being part of this vision. If you are ready to run toward the future of AI and robotics, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. It helps us bring these first principles to more dreamers who are ready to build what's next. And I really want to hear from you. What impossible problem are you working on? What do you think is the real danger in the next wave of AI? Leave your questions and your thoughts in the comments below. I promise you, I will be reading them personally and I will respond quickly. Because in this revolution, every voice and every second counts. The logical conclusion, the truth that we must all embrace, is this. The age of the instruction-based computer is over. The age of the reasoning, learning, and acting AI factory has begun. The competitive advantage of the next century will not be found in legacy software, but in the speed at which you can turn data into embodied intelligence. The danger is only for those who refuse to change. For the rest of us, it is the greatest opportunity in human history. Run, don't walk.